Oh crap! We are officially live and doing things with the Dawn and the K Mega,
Let's
otherwise known
go.
as Devin the Gamer, right? So,
Let's go.
hey, how you been, man? It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while. We haven't really talked that much. I mean, you've been busy doing your thing. I've
Mhm.
been busy. And then on top of that, I've been in the world of Diablo. So it's just kind of like, we've been missing each other, especially on Saturdays. I was gone last weekend, hanging out with the wife and stuff like that. So I missed you on Saturday. And then Friday, I didn't have GRG. I'm still debating if I'm going to do GRG Friday. Already got a couple of people already stressing me out about it. Like, so I'll let them know tomorrow night or
So,
whatever. But
I mean, we've had this conversation. Do
mhm.
you think GRG needs to be a weekly thing?
I don't know. I don't know. I
You
don't.
have
I
a
don't know.
lot going on. I think less is more
Yeah.
sometimes, man. I think
Sometimes, yeah,
sometimes
sometimes,
you
but
know, like
I don't know.
it's good to have the people. Like, there's so many podcasts out there, right? You can't hit them all in a week. Even if you're the most enthusiast person, like Yobi in the chat, you can't hit all that stuff. So having a little, I think, spaced out gives you that variety in regards to that. So I think also too it prevents people like some of your people that that show up to GRG. It keeps them from getting burnt out, if you know what I mean. So
Yeah, yeah. No, I've talked about it.
oh,
He said,
already said
I
it.
said, yeah. Yeah, yo, he said, man, take a break, man. You should do GRG every 2 weeks. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'll think about it. I mean, Don has brought it up to me, but and besides that, I've now added on another podcast now, which is the crossover. So with Ham Solo. So yeah, no, I don't know. It's something I'll think about. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I do enjoy doing GRG, of course. But I don't know. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out. I probably will not probably have GRG this week. You know what I'm saying? Enjoy my 2 weeks and just kind of just, you know, spend some more time with the wife, catching up on movies and stuff like that. Seen Guardians of the Galaxy. Really
Mm.
enjoyed that. And we caught up on because we were like 2 episodes into Miss Marvel. We finished that, and then we started Secret Invasion. I think that comes on tomorrow. So I didn't finish the last episode, so I want to watch both episodes. So I want to watch last week's episode and then tomorrow's episode back to back, so I can be completely caught up. But I'm really enjoying Secret Invasion. I don't know what you thought about it if you had a chance to see it yet, but yeah, but no, just doing that and then just hanging out, doing some things with the wife, you know what I'm saying? Went out, eating, stuff like that. Those times when you're doing these podcast things, we're doing podcasting, especially when you're gaming, you know, you got to give your significant other some time, especially, you know, especially as long as I've been doing it, you know, you just gotta give them some time, man. So yeah, I was like, yeah, let me just take a break.
Yeah, I think with a lot of people, people get hungry and they want to grow a lot on YouTube. It's easy for me to say because obviously I'm still small. But
Right.
I think there's a quality also that comes from not getting burnt out. In
Right.
regards to that, and
Right.
that's something I'm noticing. And then it's less of the recycle topics. People are a little bit more well thought out, less parodying one another, sort of thing.
Mm.
In regards to that, and I think it also kind of tampers down that gaming community kind of white noise that occurs. Does that make sense? Where
Yeah.
one thing happens, I'm on this side, everyone's upset. And then this little
Right.
thing,
Right. Right. Right.
and
Right.
it's just
Right.
like, can you guys just pause just for 1 sec, just take a breath, figure it out. Oh, everything you said in the last couple of weeks, you probably would take those back if you gave it a little time. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
that's true too. Yeah.
that sort of stuff is the way I look at it, and I feel this way for anyone. It's like, this is not GRG. It's not just Devin the Gamer. I think burnout on YouTube, stuff like that stuff is a real thing. You know, sometimes
Oh yeah, no, yeah, no doubt, no doubt, no doubt, no doubt. Like, and then when you try to do that, and I haven't done fight night in about a month now. I'm gonna get ready to start getting back on that. Get going in down, especially with a great fighter like Street Fighter. I'm just kind of like, what am I? But Diablo is just, I mean, and that is To me, I think it's a wonderful surprise because I mean, I knew that I would like Diablo because I like Diablo 3.
Yeah.
But I did not know that I would be so invested into this type of game. Like, I mean, it's bizarre. But I'm having a blast with it. That's all that matters, though. I mean, to me, it's more the thing of, kind of put everything else on hold gaming wise because of it, because I want to get, I got to get to level 100. That's just, I got to get my barbarian there to level 100, and I'm at level 75 now. So I'm going to get it. And also the investment, because I bought the Ultimate Edition. And so it just feels to me, if I don't take my characters and build them up, then I just wasted money. And so I'm just kind of like, no, you know what I'm saying? I enjoy the game this much. Yeah, I just want to just, put the money back into it. Yeah. So, but yeah, I jumped back. I played a little bit of Halo Sunday night, got waxed. I just showed how rusty I've been because the last time I played Halo before that was like in January, February. And I did much better, but yeah, I just was like, oh my goodness, because my hands, because I've been playing mostly a lot of single player games except for Street Fighter and then Redfall, but Redfall is just a different type of game compared to Halo. So, and Street Fighter was really the only thing that I played that's been competitive. So, jumping back on Halo looks great. It played really, really good. It's just that I was just getting waxed. So I definitely got to jump back in on that too eventually.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, right? Because they made a lot of different changes, and in Infinite versus 5, we were just talking about this before the podcast, and those changes don't complement the gameplay when you have latency challenges with the game, if that makes any sense. It doesn't. Matter of fact, it makes those latency issues more obvious, more than anything else, and that sucks in regards to that. So everything from walk speed to the fact that your engagement's a little bit closer versus further away. The fact the maps are built out that way in regards to that, and there was always ways to counter everything in 5 with latency challenges. There isn't always ways to counter that with Halo Infinite this way, and it seems like it's better than my connection is, the worse it is with Halo. Like, it just, like, it's a fun game, but it just it's not 343's best. Let's just call it what it is. And hopefully they learn from it and release a Halo game they're obviously capable of. You know what I mean? So,
Right. Man, I don't know. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, I do feel guilty sometimes because I am such a Halo fan.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like everything else has been catching my attention. And I mean, and if it wasn't for the fact that it was that the content situation happened, because I mean, it was perfect. Battlefield messed up. They didn't have their content. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to be primarily, on Halo and then playing whatever else in between. And then they did that situation with that. And then, of course, the desync, and man, it pains me. But I mean, I'm still going to have to get some run every once in a while. I mean, just because, but because it's Halo. But yeah, no, I mean, it's been one of those things where I'm just playing other things, and it's keeping my interest more. And that's usually hasn't been the case for many, many years. So it's kind of like, but it is what it is, man.
Good. It's good. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. No, it's all good. So
we're playing Gears next week. Or this weekend. Sorry, if you're game.
Yeah, if I'm home. I don't know if I'll be home though. That's what I'm saying. Like, I've been getting out, doing stuff on the weekends here lately. I'll be back to being old hermit fart here next week. But yeah, this weekend I'm going to be hanging out because one of my friends' birthday is this weekend, and then I'm going to again hang out with the wife. So yeah, you know what I'm saying? Just pay my dues as a husband, and then just, show the support that my wife shows me for doing all this stuff, that I do. So that's, I think that's way more important. And then after that, The vacation. Thank you, Microsoft, for the vacation to Mexico in September.
What do you mean?
You know,
Vacation to Mexico for the summer?
Xbox Illuminati. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So where did all that conversation? So I'm a little bit outside of the loop. So
yeah,
I saw a bunch of people saying that it was a cult and there's all this Illuminati stuff. I'm like, I can't even I can't even spend the time with this. So what happened? Was there somebody that like just?
Well, yeah, David Jaffe, Calamari, however you say his name, and just quite a few people, and then of course a lot of PlayStation content creators. They've been on the tear. They've said stuff in the past, but like they really made this point of trying to say that Xbox content creators have been on the take. Like we've been getting paid, and especially the more up tier Xbox gamers like Dirk Griggity and Cold and Dealer, and
even David Jaffe was saying that?
Yeah, David Jaffe even took shots at the Iron Lords, and one of the Iron Lords for
Cognito.
For Cognito.
Yeah,
Cognito.
Like I saw that clip going around. So
yeah, and so on crossover, me and Ham was talking about it, and King David wanted to talk about it and address it. So he came on, and he laid it down, talked about it, and then just the whole thing about it. It's just one of those things. It's just it's unsettling for me in two different factors. One is the fact of why would you go after Sarah Bond and Cognito? Especially, I've got to meet Sarah Bond when I was at FanFest a couple of years ago. Of course, every time that I've talked to Cognito, he's been the salt of the earth type of guy. Never a person that, and he's definitely not a person that kind of spins or is the rah-rah guy that wants to do the console war stuff. He's really even keel, good people. But to take shots and to try to make this into this narrative about people being a part of some kind of conspiracy, and that we're paid in order to we've been paid in order to talk about something that we enjoy, or that it seems cringeworthy to be a fan of something but then go and take pictures with execs and things like that. I find it to be highly problematic, because everybody has some level of fandom, and as long as I feel as long as you're a professional, there shouldn't be any reason for anybody to look at you for being a fan and doing your job at the same time. I think that that's pretty asinine, if you ask me. I don't know. What is your thoughts?
Well, if you're a fan of something, you're obviously doing your job right, to some degree, right? So. Right. So isn't that part of the job? I mean, listen, I mean, I'll say this. David Jaffe is seeing more success than I think I'll see in my lifetime. Like, I'm not going to undermine his accomplishments in any sort of way.
Right. Yeah. I'm a fan of his work. Yeah. I'm a big fan of David Jaffe's work.
Yes. But at the end of the day, though, I mean, I question his motives, right? His motives are more in question than anyone else's, right? Like, he's trying to do the YouTube thing. He's obviously even more successful in that than I ever will be. I'll say that too, right? Mm-hmm. But it seems like you're reaching to gain attention, garnish more attention, and
yes,
and that's what it seems like. And so that's what bothers me. And to be frank, and there is a little bit of what I call it handshakes in golf games, right? Like, there's a little bit of I get it. Yeah. But at the same token, that's kind of part of the job. I mean, hell, that's why we had booth babes in the E3 back in the day, right? Because it was to garner that sort of attention and kind of treat that audience that comes through there like something special, make them feel a certain way, bring their guard down, and so they're a little more receptive to the products you're trying to present to them. And that's part of the business. It's always been part of the business. It's just evolved to different things now, like it's a fan fest or that sort of stuff. And I think other companies like Sony has decided to cut the budget on that stuff.
Yeah,
obviously they have, like the participation in E3 is a big part of it. You can even say that with other companies, even EA, like they recognize it's important to have places like that, and so that's why they participate in E3 but not at E3, if you get where I'm going with that. So
no, you're right.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where I think a lot of companies like to cut the budget in regards to that, but I think it's a very important thing, especially as the influencers of the world is changing.
Yes,
that'll go into the article that you were reading that you misunderstood a little bit earlier.
I did, yeah.
But this stuff has been changing for a while, and so it's very important that you have that relationship with the gamer. And I think that's very important. I think it's part of the development process too. More walled off you have yourself, sometimes it creates something in a weird bubble. And then when you have like backlash from the gaming community as a whole, what tends to happen is it tends to bite in the ass later. Does that make sense? And, I think those sort of things are impossible to get around with existing titles where you're on the third iteration or second iteration. You're always going to do something that's not going to be in line with your audience, right? But when you're doing a new IP, maybe those are conversations that you should be having with the gaming community as a whole, right? Because no one's attached to any particular thing of your game in regards to that. So, yeah, I find it a little bit disturbing how they manage themselves. And Colin, like, I mean, I just don't take him seriously. Like he's got a great grift. He's making good money on YouTube and Patreon and stuff like that. Like, that's cool. I don't have any problems with that, but the reality is both of those people are treating their audience like trash. And that's where I have a fundamental problem.
The game is turning into smut. It's smut fest now.
Yeah, so and I'm not trying to take them down. I'm not trying to like, hey, expose. I don't care. I just don't care that much. But the reality is it is disappointing to people that I've had respect to in the past that I don't really, people have the respect, maybe not always agreed, but I had at least respect.
Mm-hmm.
Going forward, I just don't have anything I agree with them, and I don't have respect at this point. And that's where we're kind of at in regards to that. So Colin, he calls himself an analyst. Bullshit. That he's not a fucking analyst. Like, he needs to give that stuff up. In regards to that, he's a commentary about other people's art. Sure, I'll give him that. Is he possibly entertaining? Does he weave a good weave? Sure. But at the end of the day, he's a very intelligent person that's playing his audience like suckers. And that's where I kind of have a challenge. And there's Xbox gamers that do the same thing.
True.
And those are the type of things that turn me off from a channel, not want to participate in a channel. In regards to that, there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of grift, but you can take it too far, in my view. So,
yeah, no, it is one of those things to me where And I've said this many of times about how when I first got into doing content creation, where I was into now where I'm at and how I've grown. And some people, they would look at it, okay, Mega, you turn fake, or you ain't, you're not talking the same way as you would if you weren't on, or if you talk differently off camera than you do on camera. It's about having a level of professionalism. And then on top of that, it's also one of those things to me is where when I first started, the people that I was associated with. I mean, it was about, clowning, having fun, talking some shit, just kind of, go back and forth, be a little rowdy or whatever. But then when it started turning into where people started taking things extra personal, started going after people a certain way because of their thoughts, not because of their character of who they are, their, whatever, but their thoughts. And then the backstabbing, and then you would work with somebody, and then in the background you would start talking about all these people in a negative light, and then you put in an uncomfortable position of where, like, damn, I'm not no snitch or nothing, but damn, like, if you have a problem with these people like this, why don't you tell them this personally? But then I look at it and see, well, because they add views to your platform, to your channel. And that's when I started to understand. And then E3 changed everything for me.
And who told you that would happen?
Oh, you told me that. No doubt.
Yeah.
And
so no one else is telling you that at the time. And
no, because a lot of people in my circle wasn't doing E3 like that.
Exactly.
And so when I went and then seen the absolute, like, whoa, I'm seeing these PlayStation cats over here in the Xbox section. I'm seeing all these Xbox gamers in the PlayStation section. I'm seeing everybody in the Nintendo section. I'm seeing all of these gamers commute, talking. Of course, there was some asshole devs there that would people would want to have an interview, talk to, when they grab their cards and throw them away right when they walk away from them or whatever. But for the most part, everybody was seen really genuine and cool and just together. And it's like,
how long it's been that way?
Oh, how long? The whole time?
1999.
Oh, see.
Yeah, so for everyone, like, I've been going there since this. So, E3's always been that, right? In regards to all these things that are out there are just super petty. And so, you've grown as a person. I would hope so. In regards to that, you know what I mean? I keep that thing around just because I don't know, first or second time I went to E3.
Nice.
In regards to, I mean, I would say maybe 5% are still companies that exist in that book, but
right, yeah.
But I have a Konami keychain. Like, how often do you hear about Konami these days? Things like that,
right?
So E3 has just always been that thing where all these other things that people argue about just don't matter. It's almost like the real world of gaming, right? Like, you start seeing it from the 800-foot view of what's going on. And so, there's a little bit of bickering, there's a little bit of infighting. That stuff is always going to happen, I think, with people that don't agree. I mean, that stuff happens even within the development community, like within a studio, right? You hear about it, kind of rumors of it, outside of that. But at a certain point, you have to put those differences aside and say, okay, this is the direction we're going, full steam, right? And you have to come together. And that's one of the things, like, I would like to see in gaming is people coming together. And E3 left a big hole. I don't know what we do going forward, because
I don't know.
Because what do you do? I mean, you either do something like what Xbox is doing, is like FanFest in regards to that, or there's nothing. So is the world better off with companies like, I would say, even Sony doing something similar to that? Kind of removing that barrier just a little bit, just enough to say, hey, fans, let's just get a little hyped, let's get a little excited, let's less involved in like the calm minority kind of like outrage culture he creates, right? And then be a little bit more about the fundamentals, the basics, gaming, having fun, enjoying the hobby, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not that complicated in regards to that. So it's just one of those weird things. But speaking, should we talk about, which one should we talk about first? Should we talk about the thing that everyone wants to talk about, everyone is talking about, or should we talk about?
We'll save the big one. We'll say the ABK for the last part because I'm sure that there's plenty to talk about for when we get into talking about the ABK. But we can talk about the next one. I do want to kind of segue to that by saying Jeff Keighley got what he wanted, but I don't know if he's satisfied because people now are talking more about how they miss E3 than they were before when they were saying, well, E3, it doesn't matter because I think he's starting to realize that it's not as easy as he thought it was going to be by taking over and replacing E3. I mean, it's kind of like gamers started really for this first time, really seeing the void. And so, so now it just goes into the point of that with that and then the whole situation that's going on with the media. So I'll let you address that, talk about that a little bit, because that was pretty interesting read. I mean, I didn't get to read the full article, but the things that I did read within it, and I thought it was about developers, but then I was like, oh, this is the media. Very interesting things. And just like you said in the beginning of the show, there's a lot of change, not only going on within gaming, but also within the media. And this is something that you've been talking about and advocating for a really long time about the media being in some trouble. So why don't you go ahead and kick it to us?
Yeah, I mean, they're on a crash course of failing, right? Just like magazines of old, just like players' guides of old, all that sort of stuff. So we talked about the barrier between developer and gamer, and there's always been that, and that intermediate over really demand early on is there's some magazines. I think EGM was originally a fan base race done magazine that also turned into a publication in regards to that. So gaming media was this thing because your game was $60 and that was a big risk. Right? It's a big risk for a gamer to spend $60. Is it going to be shit or is it going to be not? Especially coming off, I would say, the Atari generation going into the 8 and 16-bit era. A lot of people bought shitty games. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
so you really were trying to do this thing as a service to the end user, the consumer base, right? So you're providing a service that was there was a demand for. And then what happened was the internet, right? Because it's easier to access, quicker to put something up. You don't have to put something in print. So games media evolved to the internet. Those are like the IGNs and the GameSpots and all those sort of companies. And then they grew from like, oh, you don't need to be this big monolith company. You can be a blogger. And that's how Kotaku started, right? So the barrier entry kept getting lower and lower, right? But these were all people that do the written language better than myself. English is probably one of my worst subjects. I'm probably the world's worst grammar. I always leave out words when I tweet. So if you've ever seen me delete a tweet, it's not because I didn't want to say that thing. It's because I forgot a couple words and I look like an idiot. So
right, same.
So that is one of those things is that you got people that are actual journalists, right? From a perspective, like they go to school to learn English language, communications degrees, learning, I would say, degrees adjacent to being somebody that can write. And then what you have is literally the digital world doing exactly what the magazine world did. They copied that for the longest time, right? And they got their ad revenue and they got traffic driven to them. And then what happened is the personality. That was the next leap, right? It was personalities like we're just talking about Colin, we're talking about Greg Miller, all these companies. All those sort of things there was the next stage. But what that spawned was people like you. People like myself, people that follow us. Wait, anyone can do this? And the answer is yes, anyone can do this. Yes. Anyone can give their damn opinion and go online. You may have to do a little bit of homework.
Right.
But if you put the time and energy and effort, you can do it. The barrier entry is lowered and lowered and lowered. Here's the problem with that. It's no longer a gated community.
Right.
Right. So, think about all the people you guys like watching it here in the chat and, post live and stuff like that. You can't watch them all.
Right.
You just can't do it. So what happens? Yeah, so the YouTube community will slowly kind of eat at each other to some degree, right? But it also, as they start rising up, it starts taking out the big players. Does that make sense? They don't have the overhead. And so what happens is they start hiring these people that are not as qualified as they previously were. They feel entitled. You've heard the articles where people complain and they, like in Cuphead, and they can't make a simple jump. Right? The jump I used to be able to make when I was 6 years old on,
Right. Yeah, they can't make the jump now.
Mario Brothers, but somehow there's an adult that can't, and then that's their job to review. Like, give me a break, right? So you have people like that. You have people that complain that the game, they don't get early enough copies. That's no developer's job to give you earlier enough copy or not. That's your job. It's not my problem. That's your problem. And so you kept projecting onto the developer. Then you start, there's kind of this weird relationship where, because they get early access and they feel like if they don't give favorable reviews, then they won't get early access. And
that's it.
But then there's this weird thing is if you're a publisher and you keep getting shitty reviews, I'm like, why do you even bother? Like, it's not worth the money or time or press to do it, right? So then they start eating at each other at that point, right? And so then you have places like IGN that like literally plagiarize someone's YouTube video, like word for word, and then that's the sort of issue. And then so you create this weird culture within like IGNs and stuff like that are a challenge. So yeah, that's what it comes right down to is they're getting eaten up by much smaller people, much hungrier people that don't complain. People are not in it to win it in that way. They can make their own revenue a different way. And so I think it just gets into a weird spot. You know what I mean? So.
No, it is. And shout out to Level One. If it's who I'm thinking it is, it's Fame, man. Appreciate it, man.
Nice.
Thanks for coming through. Fame is somebody I've been knowing for a really long time. I'm saying, one of those hard workers. Him and his crew out there, really do appreciate you guys, even just coming through and just saying what's up. You know what I'm saying? Come and hit this guy up here, man. Yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a minute, brother. Fame, hit that.
Like
hit
you or me?
No, talk about you. Yeah, Fame, hit this man up. Get him up. Get him on your show sometime, man. Get down on your show time, man. Look,
my DMs are open. People. My DMs are open.
Yeah.
So
hit up Don, man. You know what I'm saying? He's a developer. He does stuff, man. I'm telling you, man. I mean, you good people, man. Hook him up. Hook him up. Get him on there. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, you won't be disappointed.
I'm just stoked you stopped by to say hi. So,
yeah, for real.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but no, I appreciate it. No, Fame has been doing it for a long time, man. I mean, we kind of came up around the same time, and I mean, the work that he's doing, he puts in, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was just something that we was talking about on crossover Monday. Nice. Yeah, today's Tuesday. I'm kind of forgetting my days yesterday. And I was just basically saying, like, I mean, talking about like somebody like Hip Hop Gamer who was put in the work, the effort, kind of going back to what our last topic was real quick. And just, and then, he just don't get the views or the acknowledgement that you think that he should for the hard work. I put Fame and people like PTK Blam and them in that same category. Like, they're hard workers. They do it the right way. They just, and I just love their tenacity, the way they keep working. And
it takes time.
Don, and it's the same way. I feel the same way about you. So, I mean, that's the whole thing. But anyway,
well, thank you.
Enough of that. But
Appreciate
no problem. I'll be waiting for that free game here a little bit later.
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk to Xbox and get you that
yes.
paycheck, right? Is what they say.
Yes. Talk. I'm gonna have to call Aaron. Hey man, listen, we're gonna have to up the ante on here talking about all this Xbox hype. But anyway, no. But you know, it is changed. The media aspect of it has changed. And then, like, you know, from when I got the first credentials, because you know, from when during the whole COVID situation, and then you know, we went in there and started to get a chance to get behind the scenes, and then I'm labeled as media. That makes you feel a certain way, like, really? Whoa, you know, like, I mean, and I would never want to.
You know what's weird about that, right?
What?
Traditional media doesn't look at you as media, but you are when you go there. Yeah. If you get where I'm going with that. But
yeah, I don't look at myself that way, but when they label you that, and when you get a credential that's saying you are, that is nuts. Like, it's crazy.
Well, it's different than that. Good. Well, think about it, right? So the magazine people frowned upon the internet sites as media. The internet sites frowned upon the blogger sites as media, right? Mm-hmm. And now all of them, well, not except for magazines, because they're not really around anymore. No one takes them seriously, right? They're looking at you guys the same way they were looked at.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. You know what I mean?
No, it is. It's really crazy. No, I mean, it's a wonderful thing, and in a positive world, everybody can coexist, right?
Exactly.
But that's not how they look at you. Like, I mean, I know from being there how they looked at us, and how some, not all, like, now I'm not trying to point the picture that all media is they're gripey old, you know, get off my lawn or my porch type of people. But there are some out there that will look at you as a lesser because you didn't do it the hard way like they did it. And
it's hard.
I can understand that, because they went to school, they got that, you know, to get the accolades to get into be a journalist, and I totally understand that. But then again, you have to understand, just in the real world as well, is that it takes more than just having the credentials. You got to have the pizzazz. You got to have that flavor. You know, the way that you present things, and the gaming media itself is now turning into more like the content creators that they deem to hate. And that's what's really tripping me out about, instead of them staying like they used to be, where their integrity could never be questioned. Now, when we read articles and we read the clickbait, it's like, bro, you're no different than if I go and I check out somebody else you know what I'm saying, check out somebody else's channel that y'all act like that is beneath you. You're no different than them now. Even if your article is the most legit that it possibly can be, the headline already is doomed you, because you did it for the clicks. And like in that article, like it said, like the freelance and all that other things that they were trying to do, that they don't have the money or the resources to do it. That's a problem going forward, because that means that these people are trying to cut corners. These publishers or the people that own these entities are cutting corners. And like you said, they're hiring people that seem to be, in some cases, don't even care to the point, like you said, that they'll steal a content creator's content word for word and use it as their own, thinking because that person has a smaller channel. It's a sad situation, and I'm beginning to think that you're right. Like, content creating is that new form that is overtaking what we knew and love as game journalism. And it's doing it year by year, because they are becoming more of what, like I said, they hate. And that's tragic. Well, that's real tragic.
I think also, you know, not to undersell live streaming. I think live streaming is another avenue where people get opinions about games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there can be a live streamer that, whatever, like, let's say EA literally blatantly like does a big donation in their chat, right?
Mm-hmm.
They could do something like that, and there's nothing stopping that from happening. But at the end of the day, though, sometimes some people, you just can't fake it. Like, I can't fake if I like a game or not. Like, I'm just not that person, right?
No, I'm not either.
A lot of times I have that what do they call? I call that resting bitch face, right? When I play, where like, if I, it's so people like to watch you, they learn what you're about or what you're not, and if they like your kind of takes or not. So, that has influence. So if you think about like one article on any modern day game and how many hits it gets at a big outlet, right? How many views do you think that game gets just on Twitch alone? Probably dwarfs it at this point.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
And so people form their opinion. Now you throw, okay, now here's the next step. Services. Like Xbox Game Pass, right? How low is that barrier to entry? If you're the type of person who just likes to play a game, shit, that's cheaper than a couple rentals. Back in the day.
It is, yeah, right, no doubt.
So now there's even less barrier of entry on a lot of games, and so there's those elements as well. And I think all of those things are they just keep eating at the lunch at those people. And to your point where you said like, hey, they went to school and they have a lot more of like say a feather in their cap. I don't agree with that at all, actually.
You don't? Okay.
No. I think we're in a very interesting time where anyone can get an education. If you want to learn the program today, you don't have to spend a dime. You just have to have an internet connection. Right? And the tenacity, and you can gain a better education, be a more accomplished programmer than somebody that goes to school.
Interesting.
Now, like, let's say, like for myself, I'm not really good at the written word, but I can create a video, I can edit a video, and yeah, my schooling in background does help, but I probably learned more. There was a particular high school teacher I had learned more from him than any of my college professors on the art side of things. So the way I look at it, and there's people I'm looking about bringing on and stuff like that. Like some of the people that just have the raw tenacity, right? May not even have the talent, just determination are some of the best people to hire these days. And it has very little to do with our education system. I mean, like, obviously, if I want open heart surgery, I want somebody that has a lot of student loan debt, if you know what I mean. But but when it comes to some of these other things, it's just not necessary. And I think that's what's going on there. I think someone can be just as qualified as someone that goes to a university just by putting the time and the work and the effort, right? Like, you can be talented, but if you put the time, work, and effort, you can overcompensate for natural talent. In regards to that, a lot of times, like when people look at like my artwork and stuff like that behind the scenes that you've seen, like you go, okay, you're talented. No, I worked my ass off, right? I was only so talented. There was a lot of people that were more talented than me in college and I would say, any education level, like even high school level. And it was just raw determination that got me to where I'm at. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, no, I just don't want to discredit that word, and you're right. But but again, I'm sure that's how a lot of these people feel. Yeah. That's my thought process, and I'm over here. And I'm looking at myself through the screen because I know it's a little behind, and I'm squinting like I'm not confused, like I'm confused on what you're saying. I'm not. It's because I see the gameplay of you mixing Halo 5, the greatness, with Halo Infinite, which is a fantastic shooter. But I was just like, I want to see the Halo 5 again. That's why I'm squinting like, where's the other Halo 5? Yeah, so anyway, but that's all. That's why I was squinting like that. But no, I agree. I agree with what you're saying. I just feel like, and I'm sure that that's what a lot of them feel like as well. It's like, oh, these vagabonds come here and they step into our clean, beautiful palace, and they just damage the place. These ragamuffins, like that. But they're becoming the ragamuffins themselves. Like, once you lower yourselves to the people that you feel that aren't worthy, then you're just as bad, in my opinion. And and like, look, you look at Dustin, right? Dustin left IGN or got let go from IGN, whatever the case may be.
He's probably doing better
and look
now.
at what and he's doing. You could tell he's doing a lot better. Like, I think he's already at what 100,000 subscribers or whatever, and and all that is his money. Like, Andy, I'm sure he's got a Patreon too. All that is his money. He don't owe anything except taxes. The government is all he has to pay now. And then you look at Colin. Colin, I don't know if he left or got taken, but all money he's making, it's his.
He chose to leave. So did
Greg Miller.
Greg Miller. They created Kind of Funny together, and then Then they had that little weird thing where he said like an off-color joke, and then they forced him out. So
right, that's right. So, but yeah, again, and look at Greg Miller. Greg Miller's taking it a different direction, but again, doing very, very successful in that. So it's like, and then when you look at people that doesn't have journalism skills, but they're just making oodles of just profit, and just their popularity is much bigger than even some of the celebrities that's out there on IGN or GameSpot or anywhere else. That's just a testament of them just having good skills, and like you said, the tenacity to just work harder than the next person. And
well, the thing with tenacity, you'll screw up along the way. It's not like you'll start off like incredibly naturally talented. Like, you'll have some level of skill set and talent, and then you expand upon it. As long as you're expanding upon those initial skills and you keep pushing forward, you will continue to find an audience. You'll continue to grow as a person, right? We talked about your growth as a content creator. You're a different person than when you started, since I've known you. Because you grew, you became better, you became more skilled. Like, now I don't have to, have a frustrating conversation to help you set up your OBS, right? You can do it.
Right.
You can do it to some degree.
I can do it now. Yeah. I haven't hit you up in a minute now. I got this. I'm working on. I'm doing my own overlays and stuff now. So it's sweet. It's sweet. It takes me a little while. But I am teachable. I'm just a difficult student. That's all.
But you take less time than you did before, and
absolutely,
and you're able to do more now, and you'll continue on that journey as a content creator. And that's one of those things. Like, I'm a much bigger fan of, like, when someone goes, "Well, I think I can do it too." That say we watch me or on a stream or on a podcast where we're together. My answer is do it. Just do it.
Do it.
Just do it. Like. And guess what? You're probably going to screw up along the way. That's fine.
Oh, yeah.
Accept that, have that self-reflection ability, and you'll get there. And I'm super excited. I guess what the biggest thing I saw from this article was, obviously I've been preaching this for a while, but it's starting to become mainstream. Other people are starting to notice what I noticed a while ago. And so usually when that kind of starts happening, especially a games media site talking about games media, right? Then you at that point, like, there's no turning back. This is going that direction, and what it's going to do, it's going to breed talent, some entertaining people that will contribute to something in games to some degree. Now, it might be just reviewing or being the next big streamer, but I'm excited to see who those people are. And not all of them are going to be for me. I get it. But they're, if they keep people motivated to play games and enjoy it, I benefit from that. So I don't have any problems with people doing that. Just be right to your audience. And I think that's the lesson I think all these creators can gain, and if you do that, I think you'll do really well over time. So
yeah, no, I agree 100%. I agree 100%. And again, you look at somebody like the Iron Lords from where they began, where they started, and to now where they're at. And I mean, they are well put together as a collective, and that's also another thing too for people that's coming up into the game. You're only as strong as your weakest link. So if you look and you start feeling like you're being you get jealous out of somebody that may be more popular within your core. Remember, you're still a part of that core. If you feel that that somebody's not holding away, then tell them instead of telling other people. Or again, like that's the one thing about them, their core, their whole perspective of how they work. And anybody else, like I mean, the kind of funny guys, all that other stuff, they work in a positive way that you can't break or shake their foundation because it's already built. And a lot of people, they get into it and they think that because they you know, they might find some internet friends and they get into it. I mean, they get into you know, a good situation and then they think that it's all roses and stuff like that. There's some hard times that come out of this, you know what I'm saying? And so, and then you really find out who your friends and who is genuine and who will ride with you. That's why, like for XBot, I've been doing that show with XBot for, I'm going on almost 9 years now.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? And I do it out of the love and respect for XBot. You know what I'm saying? I ain't made a penny on that show, but I make sure I'm there on Thursdays because I want him to always understand that I'm a part of that foundation with him. I'm going to stay with him. You know what I'm saying? Because even when until the time I'm done or the time he's done, just because of that reason, I feel like if people help you get to a certain point, and Bot was one of those people, I'm, you know, just like with you.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick with you. I'm going to stick with you. You know what I'm saying? We brothers, you know what I'm saying? And just like with, you know, now me having a good bond with Ham Solo or with 108 Dragons and so many others. I mean, like, and for even the ladies, like, I mean, I don't talk with them like I used to with Delilah and Infamous. I mean, but still, I will support them until the end because of the fact of, you know, if you've been a part of helping me or if I was helping you, the thing of it is that, you know, you got to put pettiness aside and understand the bigger picture on what you're trying to do. And that's what I think when people going forward, when they want to do these podcasts and things like that, understand that there's going to be setbacks and there's going to be issues. And do not try to follow the next person's lead. You make your own stance. And even if it doesn't go off and jump off like you wanted to,
Yeah.
Be patient. Just be patient. Just be patient.
Well,
It'll come.
You got to prioritize when you're involved with other creators. I think you have to prioritize that friendship,
right?
In regards to that, otherwise you end up like a band that falls apart over time. You know,
boy,
like,
man.
Yeah, exactly. So, you don't want to end up like the Beatles, right? So that's
well, I mean, the Beatles were pretty successful before the Beatles went away. So
yeah,
you know
before they broke up. But you get where I'm going with that, right?
yeah.
But I think that's just human nature. And that's something that
Yeah.
be guarded for. But I would say this too, like if you are, you know, part of a group or hanging out, like I think it's also important to create your own individual content separately. Don't just crutch on other people in regards to that, because I think it's important when you start having these things you're doing, you want to make sure you have the outlet for what you want, right? And when you're collective, you can't do everything that you want. Like it's you know, it's because it's a group effort, right? So yeah, and I think prioritizing the friendship is the biggest thing I've learned. You know, I haven't been the best at it at certain times and stuff like that, but like it is something that I
falling short.
I reflect back on and say, okay, yeah, I wish I would have done certain things, you know, differently, but you know, use those lessons to learn and grow from there and that sort of thing. So, but yeah, the real threat is you guys. Everyone's watching the stream. I don't know if me and Megan are a threat to IGN and them, but
no,
you don't know who is. Like we all bite a piece of that pie, right?
That's right. That's right.
And so the thing is, they're eating good over there. Guess what? A lot of us can all eat pretty damn well if you put the time and effort into it. So, you know, for what it's worth, that's I want to be a positive message, encourage people, and it's just not something that's going to come easy. You're going to have to put the work in regards to that, and just look at ways to make your content better, and you know. And you'll grow.
Let's go from there.
You grow, you'll get there, and then you'll look back and go, "How the hell did I get here?" So,
I mean, and then you're like, "What?" Yeah, so it's crazy. Yeah. It's amazing stuff, man. But I mean, the one thing you do, if you're doing it for the love, then it shouldn't matter anyway. So that's what it's all about in the first place. Is about the love. But all right, let's go ahead and let's talk about the ABK deal. It did get approved by the judge today. People have been anticipating. I can't lie and say that I'm not ecstatic about it. As an Xbox fan, first fan, um, it is. I mean, it's great. Now, the question is, I mean, there's a lot of layers to dissect in this, but the first thing is, and Don, I've heard you say this. You said this on GRG a couple of weeks ago when you was on. Was that you think that this could be a mistake for Microsoft going forward? I want you to break that down and where you think that the overall mistake is before we get into the what ifs and what's going to happen going forward. What do you why would you think that it could be a mistake going forward for Microsoft to pick up ABK?
Well, I think there's a lot of fat and gristle with that studio or that publisher, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of skeletons in the closet, and that is not an easy thing to change culturally. In regards to that, that's something that gets passed on from person to person that works in that environment. Like, people talk about how it is when you grow up in a certain home environment. Well, now when you're an adult, you're still spending 8 hours with these people, right? Right. So sometimes it takes somebody of really strong character not to pick up bad habits. And then everyone's going to pick up some level of bad habit being in that environment. So I know a lot of people that worked at Activision that couldn't get jobs anywhere else because of the bad reputation Activision has. And I think Phil is great at what he does. I think Satya has done some really interesting things. So that he's somebody I kind of keep an eye on to see if I can learn from him, sort of thing. Because I don't always agree with him, but there's certain things like that I'm like, okay, there's something to what he's saying that I'm not getting. Like I look at him kind of like that sort of thing. Almost like a mentor to some degree. But it's just a huge headache to try to sort through all that sort of stuff. I mean, your hands are full. Yeah, you own a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of talent that's there. That's without, but it comes with a lot of baggage. In regards to that, so. That's my take on it. I just feel like if I had $70 billion, or was it $7 billion? Did they spend?
It's 69. Well,
69 billion.
To 73 billion, something like that. Yeah, but yeah, we'll just say 69 billion.
Yeah, it says 70 billion with tax, right? So
yeah,
right. With a 70 billion, I feel like I could have. Gain a lot more with my money, if that makes any sense. It's not that Activision is not a big purchase, but you can acquire a bunch of other companies, right? You can acquire a lot of other properties in regards to that, and then next thing you know, you have you have maybe a lot less headache in regards. You're probably going to still get headache with that stuff too, but it's like a one-off thing, kind of like Redfield. If you know what I mean, like you get situations. Oh,
did you say Redfall? Did you say that?
No, it's Redfield, right?
Redfall.
Sorry.
I thought you was taking a shot. I was like, man, this is Devin the Gamer. Man, this ain't GRG. You over here getting messy already. All right. Redfall. Okay. I was like, oh man.
But Redfall, like you can look at that sort of situation where you end up with like a random situation like that here and there, but. With Activision, you're just going to get case after case. This stuff is just not going to go away with Bobby going away. I think there's a big misunderstanding. Like Bobby's there, therefore everything is all his fault. Well, everyone wants a fall guy. Everyone wants to blame one person, right? But it's a cultural issue within the company in regards to that. So you're going to see cases even after, I think, even after Microsoft acquires them, unfortunately. So.
Oh yeah, unfortunately. Now, okay, so I mean, I get that. Then that makes a lot of sense. I mean, they do have a lot on their plate after this. Now, Phil did say that they weren't going to be done, even if the deal went through or it wasn't.
Yeah. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
So a lot of people like criticize Phil for being the nice guy or doing this move or that move, right? And The reason why he was doing all that sort of stuff is for the exact reason why we saw in court.
Mm-hmm. Did you listen to any of the hearings?
Not much, because I didn't think they had a case at all, to be honest with you. Like, that's how confident I was. Like, I'm like,
oh yeah, no, yeah.
I'm not right. It was like, okay, this is just delay, so be it, whatever. We'll we'll talk about it when we get there, right? Sort of thing. But when Phil being the nice guy, Phil not removing, like, I remember a lot of people were complaining, like, they wouldn't remove what is that game?
Call of Duty?
No, Call of Duty. It's a previous acquisition. Minecraft.
Yeah,
Minecraft. Yeah, so they didn't pull Minecraft off. They're like, people are like, be the giant that you are. I'm like, no, be fair to the gamers that they're already on that platform, invested crap ton of money, sort of thing. Like, that was their mindset. Doesn't mean they can't have exclusive content, but that was kind of their mindset, kind of going forward in regards to that. And so, I think that set up the parameters. This deal would never have gone through if Phil didn't be the person that he was. If you really think about it, everything people were very critical of him about, this situation would have turned out differently. Like, you couldn't actually have a case if you're the FTC. He didn't have a case because he had a bigger plan. He had a bigger plan back then. I don't think he thought he was going to buy Activision, right? But it's every case of a situation like the FTC got involved, any case, right? Then he set himself up in a certain way. What's interesting to me is, like, I know a lot of people make the big deal about Call of Duty. Call of Duty is, like, low-hanging fruit as far as all this shit is concerned. It really is not that... it's in the grand scheme of things, it's not that important. Gamers that play Call of Duty think it's really important, but it really isn't that level of importance as people putting the effort and energy into. What it really comes down to is the what I perceive is, with Minecraft, they didn't quite get all those updates, right? Why? Because Sony wouldn't play nice, right?
They wouldn't play nice, right?
So what do you think is going to happen with Call of Duty if they're unwilling to play nice, unwilling to sign a 10-year agreement?
I don't know, because the judge just granted it. So Microsoft can play.
They can do whatever they want
to.
Yeah,
right.
They can do whatever they want. So let me grant this. Let's say Microsoft makes it a requirement for their games to be crossplay on all platforms, right?
Yeah.
Let's say that's what Microsoft does.
Right.
Then what happens with Call of Duty? Because Sony does charge more if you do crossplay. As a platform provider, they charge you more. Do you think Microsoft's going to deal with that?
They don't have to.
No. They said either you can you want it, I'll make it for you, but you give me the same deal. We give our, and if they don't want to, then they can just say, well, Sony didn't want to play. Talk to Sony, and I'm not saying this will happen, but I think this is what publishers should do across the board. Like when people are complaining about the $70 versus $60 and all that sort of stuff, and my stance and your stance are but I think honestly, not Microsoft, but any publisher that publishes on Sony that wants crossplay across the board, they should just pass the cost on to the consumers. There's no reason why they should absorb that cost. And then people have complaints, throw Sony under the bus until they change that policy. Sorry, your Sony games are going to be $80 if they're crossplay.
Oof.
I mean, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but like, you get where I'm going.
Right. Sony is not used to being in a position to where they have to answer. I mean, Minecraft is a different type of animal, right?
Yeah.
But when you talk about Call of Duty, like PlayStation, and listen, regardless of what people think, Call of Duty is always number one on PlayStation when it comes to their yearly top 10 titles.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of money that's a lot of money in consoles that Sony would be losing or, or having problems with, because those people, they're going to go where COD is. And if they even don't have, even if they despise an Xbox, they'll get a PC or they'll get a Nintendo and to play Call of Duty, and they'll play ball and they'll do the cross play. So that is a very interesting angle to it. I didn't even think about that. You're right.
Well, and it's essential, right? Like this is what we need to think about, because when say Halo 1 came or Halo 2 came out, when it had online multiplayer, right? On console. Mm-hmm. And the first Call of Duty started coming out, like the first couple, right? There's only so many online games at that time.
Yeah.
It was very few that people would gravitate towards. Now there's a lot more. So as the player base, that pie gets a little bit bigger, but it's not outpacing the number of multiplayer games coming to market. Yeah. What you get is a divided within gaming communities, all these little separate communities of people being spread out. That's why people keep saying, well, for example, they talk about Halo. Halo will never be the behemoth that it originally was. It never will be, because there's too many damn online games, right? Mm-hmm. We're in a different time now, right? And so that's the challenge that publishers are faced up against, is if we're going to do an online game, well, we have to pull from as many different players as possible. It helps the gameplay. It helps it so there's less latency issues, less latency challenges, all these sort of things. So it cross-play across platforms is essential for the future of online gaming. Essential. And right now, Sony has a roadblock in that way. Now, it's their platform. They can do whatever they want. I'm not bitter about it or anything like that. But I don't see why the publisher should take on that cost. And just like any other business, when there's something that costs more, when there's so much cost that the company's willing to absorb, eventually they raise the price of a product. And this is one of those things that, it's basically the Sony tax. Like you basically pass it on to the consumer, and then you say, cool, you're fine. We're going to be able to support the game for longer. We're going to have a bigger player base, but you're going to have to pay a premium on that console because Sony charges us more. Sorry.
Wow.
I mean, but guess what? That's what happened.
I mean, but that's.
Go ahead.
No. I was just agreeing with you. I was like, wow, just saying, wow.
But if you think about the history of video games, that's what happened with Nintendo back in the N64 and PlayStation 1 era. Cheaper to develop on CDs than it was cartridges. Right. It cost the publisher more. So what happened? That money was charged to the consumer. And then you were getting $50 to $40 games on Sony's side. Right? Like, so, well, a lot of people like to say they strong-armed them. No. They made a more competitive product. Therefore, they got the industry as a whole back then, right? So that's what you're faced with. So Sony can remove that. It doesn't cost them anything to allow crossplay. It really doesn't in regards to that. So that's, maybe you can wall off, like, you buy a skin on their side, you can only play that skin, like, say, on their platform. That's fine. That's a very reasonable take on that sort of thing. But yeah, I don't know. It's now that we have this going, we have two things happening. We have the future of Call of Duty on the PlayStation in question. What's going to end up happening as grand scheme of things?
I'm sure that Sony is going to play ball in some way, shape, or form. But
yeah, they'll fold at some point. Yeah,
they got to fold.
Yeah, so they may throw up a stink, but they'll play that game of cat and mouse between the two, and they'll figure it out. I don't think Call of Duty is being removed entirely, or anything like that. But the other thing on top of that is what you got to cut it. Well, the question is, are we going to get as many Call of Duties going forward? Are we going to take those annual things and split it up between 2 or 3 years now? Right? Because Microsoft's got a shooter coming out. Like, let's say, a big shooter that's anticipated. So then they'll space it out, give them a little more time. Oh, hey, hey, Sledgehammer, do you want to work on a new IP? Yeah, they can work on a new IP. Guess what? The IP is not guaranteed to go on Sony.
That's right.
So this is the future of what's going to happen with them in regards to that. It's going to be interesting to watch in regards to that. And then Sony's going to have to play not only friendly with their competition or friendlier than they have in the past, but they're also going to have to compete a little more competitively on the same terms.
Right.
In
And
to,
they were hoping to get this deal to be delayed or canceled or rejected, so they can have time to get their service games established.
Yes.
And now they got to get to it. So, I mean, and that could also cause problems too, because if you get too much in a hurry, then you could be putting that game and that team in jeopardy, because you already know that if you try to play too much hardball, and since the judge didn't put any stipulations,
nope.
The government, I mean, you know what I'm saying, there's nothing that anybody can do at this point, and Microsoft could be asses to say, well, look, Call of Duty is not, this next version of Call of Duty will now be coming on to PlayStation. And once those numbers hit, I doubt if it gets that far. But like you were saying, like, they could play hardball, and I can see Sony being real bitter, and because they already said that they wasn't going to relinquish their dev kits to them because of this situation. So I can see that being played out a little bit longer than what it should be. And if Sony plays too hard, then you know, that could put Sony in a position, you know what I'm saying, to where they might miss out on one Call of Duty after the deal is over with, because this next Call of Duty is the last Call of Duty that's under the PlayStation deal. So you're right. So they could go ahead and just play like, well, all right, like you said, that they could be working on another shooter. Well, not Sledgehammer, but they could sit there and take the time and tell them, like, hey, well, this other Call of Duty that you're going to work for, how about just spend a little time, take it, because it's supposed to be Advanced War 2, which I would be very, very happy about, because I really did like Advanced War. But they could say, hey, bake in an oven for another year. Let Sony sit there and sweat without having that revenue going to their platform. You know, that could be some real hardball. I mean, there's a lot of leverage now that Xbox has that they have not had. I don't even know if they've ever had that type of leverage, but this definitely changed the game. Do you agree with that? Or, well, you know what I'm saying? You think semi-white or what?
Let's be clear. The ink is not dry. It has not been signed yet.
Yeah.
Right? And they actually, I think, have until the 18th to finalize this deal, or they'll have to do some sort of extension. So we're looking at the possibility, if you guys are watching this, the deal might be done, but it's not done right now. You know, that's how close a lot of this stuff is. And Microsoft has a lot more leverage, and I think Microsoft wants to play fairly, I think, with its partners, because you never know who they're going to be partnering with down the road, or how industries change. Overall, I think that's part of Asantia's mentality on, you know, because you've seen he's more friendly with Apple these days. He's more friendly with Android these days. So I see a similar type of relationship, how he would treat, Sony in regards to that. But yeah, I don't know. There's not a lot of guaranteed things. And then the whole parity thing, they kept pushing, right? And kept pushing. I'm like, this is not a good move for you guys, Sony. Like, and I know why they're doing it, because if you apply as much skill and talent as possible on the PlayStation, and it's not going to be a popular thing for people to hear, but you put the same amount of energy and effort on both consoles, you will get better performance on the Series X. Right? It is more powerful. And it's tangible. It's a tangible difference you can do. Now, is it tangible for every gamer? No, that's kind of where we're at, right? Some certain gamers are going to be diminishing returns. Some people won't see it, blah, blah, blah. But it is tangible. Well, let's say, and I haven't heard anything, as far as I understand, I don't know if a mid-gen is going to be happening with Sony or not.
It sounds like it seems like they mentioned it in the court hearings about that.
If they do, I think it's a mistake. Just because hardware is not going to be where we need to, and that, I think, the same mistake with Xbox. To really make it worth people's while, you have to get about 4 to 5 times the ray tracing performance that you're getting out of current consoles and increase the memory and the memory bandwidth that you're currently getting between a PS5 and say a Series X. That's the type of number you want to get to be able to make something tangible on the screen for the gamer, to worth their while and their money. In regards to that, and I don't think AMD is gonna be there, if that makes sense, in that time frame, and that would be the partner they would go with. So like if they can have something that's more powerful, but is it really going to hit all that sort of stuff? Let's say they do. Hypothetically, let's say they get a good deal with AMD. They get something with a more powerful CPU, more powerful GPU, mid-gen launch. Sorry, you had a parity clause.
Bites
them in the ass. One of the bigger third-party games bites them in the ass. So parity clause, bad idea. Bad idea. In regards to that. So, and that could be like the type of thing that, like, Xbox is like, well, I'll give you a contract. Here you go. Here's you go. Here's your parity clause. And guess what? They strong arm a situation. Sony signed that deal, right? So, the way I look at it is this. If I was Sony, I would not put a parity clause or anything like that on there. I would have some sort of level of standard of game has to be released. I think platform providers need to be a little bit more diligent on that, because of the cyberpunk situation and stuff like that. I think that's mutually beneficial for third party as it is the platform providers. So they have to have like a level of standard of testing before they start releasing, allowing things to be published on their platform. I think Xbox should do that. I think Sony should do that, and Nintendo already does it, to be honest with you. Nintendo is actually probably the gold standard when it comes down to that sort of thing. So
didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's what I would say. Sony needs to be worried about that, and then no parity, and sign the first 10-year contract, because guess what? That's the best contract you will ever find in the industry.
Right. Like, I mean, that was something that was said in the hearings. Like, it's unheard of. It's not something that has ever been done. So therefore, if you choose not to take it, and I think that's one of the reasons why the judge didn't put any stipulations or anything, because like you said, you're right. It would be up to Sony to not want that deal to go through. Not to have not to sign the contract, when Microsoft is like, look, and I mean, it is a really different dynamic to when you break this down like you do, and then from the things that I heard in the hearings, and how much more leverage Xbox finally has on the PlayStation. And I've never seen this, regardless, even through the 360 generation, when it was firing on all cylinders, it still didn't have the leverage, because PlayStation still had more content that Xbox couldn't get a hold of over, in Japan or in the East or whatever. But now when you look at this is a big title that generates a lot of money on both platforms, and Sony to not want to play ball because they feel that they feel that there's still that big dog in the room. You're right. You're nothing but a pup to them right now, because they got all the leverage. That's it, boy.
Yeah. Well, and
they're going to play ball. They're going to play ball.
Well, and I think in these terms, because I have been given offers. You're forced in situations like this. You have to start thinking through things like this, right?
Oh yeah.
And you're exposed to certain things in the industry and I would say other industries. You're exposed to things like this, so it's all about getting that leverage, right? Being dependent, right? Like everyone, if you look at a food pyramid, you want to be the one at the bottom. You don't want to be the one at the top. You want to be the one at the bottom, because everyone at the top is dependent on the person on the bottom. Guess what? Money flows always to that bottom, that foundation, right?
That's right.
And so what essentially Microsoft is doing is making a bigger foundation to that pyramid, aka which will make it taller up top, right? Which is your potential profits. So yeah, I mean, they do have leverage on Sony in regards to that, and I think Sony has a lot of mindshare with gamers. I think that's something that they've cultivated really well over the years. However, if they tend to square up a little too much, Microsoft's got situations now that they can say, well, it's up to Sony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Now, okay, so
I mean, that's what's going to happen.
well, right now, no, I agree with all of that. There are some great points. Okay, so let's just talk about going forward. I mean, because I know that Xbox would definitely play ball with Overwatch, Diablo.
Yeah, all your already established titles on
already
the platform.
established titles, but Xbox didn't talk about those. I mean, but the whole hearings or anything was only about COD.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that there is a scenario where Xbox going forward could say, look, Diablo is only going to be on Xbox, PC, and mobile, and then Overwatch. I still think Overwatch is a game that they don't really care about to that degree, but like just off of the standing of Diablo right now, like I mean, Diablo is massive right now, so like gangbusters. And they see the potential within that. Do you think that they would still garner enough money if they just went that route, or maybe made another deal? Because we know that the Nintendo console is going to be, a much better console, in the sense it'll be a more powerful console. It's going to be on the same tiers as from what I've read, a Xbox One, PlayStation 4. So it will be capable of playing another Diablo or something like that. So could it be that they just make deals with Nintendo instead of just kind of making the deals with PlayStation, and PlayStation doesn't want to play ball with a game like Diablo or with maybe even Overwatch?
So there's a lot to unpack there.
Right. I know. That's basically, I wanted to just kind of, I didn't want to really put Overwatch in there because I think Overwatch is
I think you should. I don't think that's a bad, because it means different things, right? As I said, there's a lot to unpack, right? So I think Overwatch, if you look at Overwatch 1 and 2, you'll realize that Overwatch 2 is just Overwatch 1. Does that make sense? It's just a continuation, right? So Overwatch is a unique situation where like everything you have from the first one carries over. Everything, it literally is just Overwatch 1 with a different number on it, right? It's not what I call a true standalone sequel. It is basically the first game with additional content, with a rebranding. So I think something like that, if they did like an Overwatch 3 and they did it the same way they handled this, then it would probably carry over to Sony's platform. I don't see that being a situation, right?
Okay, right.
But you say Diablo, it's a standalone game.
Yeah.
Since they didn't talk about it, and since they were so focused on Call of Duty, which was the worst thing the FTC was focused on, it was a dumb thing to do. You look like a dumb lawyer. Like you look like an idiot. Because there's obviously a lot. They're not paying $60 billion for Call of Duty. They're paying $60 billion for everything, right?
Everything. Yeah, everything.
So, so the bigger conversation is everything. So Diablo's obviously seen a lot of success recently, but it's always seen a lot of success. It's been a franchise that people love. Rod left one of the games he loved working on, to go work on that, right?
Right.
And so it's a big deal. By
the way, welcome back, Mike and Rob. Welcome back to the Xbox.
Yeah,
fold.
You thought you can run, but you can't hide.
You can't hide. Can't hide from Microsoft. That Microsoft juggernaut. Yeah, man. Anyway,
exactly. So, long story short, that you have a situation like that. I don't see like the next Number Diablo, which is a standalone title. They don't. It's not a continuous product, so they don't have an obligation to release on that platform if they don't want to. And the other dangerous thing is, I think there was a point when they said they thought about not releasing Call of Duty on Sony. Right? That's what everyone freaked out about. You should be freaked out about that, but not the way you think. They're talking about recovering costs from their purchase, right? So they're looking at that situation and going, We just shift numbers around. We'll make this thing maybe exclusive on the next iteration, but Call of Duty will subsidize all that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, for example, use Disney, for example. Like, Disney started coming up with a bunch of Star Wars shit after they bought Star Wars, right? A lot of Star Wars shit.
Yeah.
Why? Because they were trying to recuperate their costs from spending that money, right? So that's what Microsoft's doing with Call of Duty. So think about that. So if they're thinking from a business model perspective, if they put Call of Duty that subsidize their expenditure, does that mean they have to subsidize that expenditure with all the other IP? I don't think they do. They looked at the numbers and said maybe Call of Duty is the sacrificial lamb going forward.
Wow.
Yeah. So
wow, and then everything else could just be can be exclusive.
As long as it's not a continuous product, right? So as long as it's not a continuous product, and that's been kind of the recipe Phil's done if you look historically.
Right.
So like, for example, Minecraft, continuous product.
Yeah, Elder Scrolls Online, right?
Exactly, continuous product. So they're not removing those sort of things. So they're the games as a service that continue to live on as long as they financially are supported going forward.
Right.
So that's the way you want to look at these sort of things. But yeah, Call of Duty maybe that's the reason why they're trying to force it to be on, not force it, but trying to offer deals to Nintendo, trying to offer deals to Sony, because now they can guarantee they can start making that money back. Right. And if that deal happens, if they're able to get Sony to sign a 10-year deal, I would imagine the Call of Duties would still release like clockwork at that point. If they don't, though, they may start having a different approach to this. These are, then again, I'm not an analyst, but I can at least read the tea leaves a little bit better in this situation, right? And there's a lot of possibilities or a lot of numbers being tossed around with this acquisition, the different ideas they had. And I don't think every idea has been set in stone because they didn't know exactly how this is all going to pan out. But they have a plan for every situation. That's something that I have zero doubt about. That's just companies a tenth of the size of Microsoft got plans like that. I can only imagine what Microsoft is, what level they think on. So,
and if they can make their money back off of just Call of Duty alone, because one thing that you didn't mention was the mobile, and the mobile is doing amazing. So, wow. I mean, so that's nuts. That's nuts. Okay, so the next question on this is how soon, once the ink is dry, that these games are going to start coming to Game Pass. I think that's what the people want to know.
I would say.
What's your thought?
I would say within the month.
Are you that quick? Quick?
Yeah, it's just a license agreement. They can move that through. Matter of fact, I bet you they have whatever paperwork they have to do internally already done.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's ready.
Stop that.
And as a matter of fact, I will say this.
They always step ahead.
I will say this. Guess what they'll probably do?
What?
They'll do a time release. They want to be in the news, right? This Call of Duty. Boom.
Oh.
Next week, this Call of Duty.
Oh,
boom.
Man.
It's backwards compat. Boom.
Oh,
the backwards compat collection. It's just one after another. You just played Diablo. Sorry, we just took us a little time to push a couple buttons and push some paperwork through. Bam. Mikey
Barra, I just wanted to. Mikey Barra said today, because somebody brought up and said that they seen something. It was somebody from Brazil, and they said that there was something that was posted that gave the indication that Diablo IV was going to be coming to Game Pass, and Mikey Barra was like, "That's not something to the effect of like we've made no plans for that, or that's not true, or something like that." To that effect. Yeah, it's not their call, but but Mike ain't the boss. You know what I'm saying? So like,
yeah, but he's not going to be. I mean, like, they're a separate entity. They have to operate as a separate entity until that ink's dry, right? So they have no idea what Microsoft's plan is, but we all know it's Game Pass, right?
Right.
And I'm sure Mike knows it's Game Pass, but he can't admit it because he doesn't. You can't have anything A to confirm it, and B, he doesn't. He'll get in trouble if anything that affects the ceiling of the deal, right? So he's
Right.
going to just take the high road and fade into the background like the Homer Simpson meme, right? Like that's the reality. But they may release everything at once, but I think what they're going to do is they're going to do it in chunks to keep them relevant in the news. In regards to it. So I imagine like the back compat, at least the lesser
the older,
talked about
stuff
ones,
like that.
that will probably all happen as like one lump sum. They'll probably also group some of the older ones together that are this generation, and then boom, the latest one like day and date. You know what I mean? Like and it just kind of ramp it up, keep it that interest there going into the launch of the new one. I can see them doing all that sort of stuff. So there is so much that they can do that with that. And Diablo, like, okay, well, maybe there's something in a pre-existing contract that they couldn't do, right? And then so what happens? They're just going to let that time run out. Boom, put it on there. So they're going to use it as a marketing tool. There's no doubt in my mind. Not only they're going to use it as a marketing tool, they're going to use it to their advantage. But I don't think it's going to be long. I think I wouldn't be surprised if all Activision's library is on Game Pass by the end of the year. All of
it. Okay, so let me read everything what somebody said.
So
let me get your thoughts about this, because I don't agree with this 100%, but you know what I'm saying? Okay, but let me read this.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I think Sony is petty enough to not allow COD on their platform after the next one drops. They will push other shooters hard to try to dethrone COD, including pay top COD esports teams to move to other titles. I'm not convinced COD goes into Game Pass right away. Personally, I'm banking on COD taking a significant dip in prestige due to this, and this is okay. I guarantee you, all of a sudden, outlets will nitpick COD to death when it comes out. The win for Xbox is the studio talent if they can retain them, the IP and the AI from King. Your thoughts on that? On their comment that was sent to me on Twitter.
I don't totally disagree with them
on
that. Yeah, the real thing is talent and IP. That's what they purchase.
I agree with that part with them. Yes.
Yes. It's not about retaining the talent as much as getting rid of the bad actors, and then you'll get more talent. You have to create a better work environment. I think that's the challenge that I mentioned earlier. So, like, not to beat a dead horse, but that's, I think, where they need to improve. I'm gonna
let you finish. I just wanted to make this point. Where I have the biggest problem was when he said, "I'm banking on COD taking a significant dip in prestige."
We've all been predicting that for years.
Right.
No one's going to predict it right. So,
no.
Like when Call of Duty eventually will fail. It has a shelf life just like anything else. I don't think anyone's gonna see it coming. You know what I mean? They're just.
I don't think it's gonna be.
I don't think you're gonna see it coming. Like, it'll happen in our lifetime, but I don't think it's anytime soon, and I don't think anyone's gonna see it coming. So
I don't think COD's going to diminish until the next 20 years. I think 20 years, after 20 years, because at that point because COD has already established a new generation of gamer. They got the millennials and they got
boomers, millennials, Gen X,
and then they got whatever that's after the millennials. I forgot what they're called, Gen Z.
Yeah.
So they have those generations. So it would have to be 20 years before COD loses its prestige, because COD never gets rated the most. They get rated fairly well, but they're never looked at. They're looked at like Madden, you know what I'm saying, or NBA 2K. They're not always acclaimed to be the best thing out there.
It's the Michael Bay
always
of games. Right, it's the Michael Bay of games. It's action, it's fun, it's a good popcorn flick of video games, right? Like, they don't expect deep thought. They don't expect any of these other things. They just have a good time. And fundamentally, the gameplay has not changed since the beginning. It's fundamentally been the same damn game, and it works for them. in regards to that. So
you need to clip that too. You need to clip that part. This part of the conversation.
This part of the conversation. What do you mean?
Well, yeah, this part right here. I mean, when you send it to me, I'll clip this part.
All right. Well, I hit the button, so yeah. I got it for you.
Oh, okay. Okay. All
right. But long story short, though, like I see, we just don't know when Call of Duty will be not the Call of Duty that we once remembered. We just don't know when that's going to happen, and so, everyone can predict it, but we're not going to see it in regards to that. So, to his point, though, I'm sure there's going to be a segment of the community that are diehard Sony fans that will push against it and say they're not the same as they once were, and stuff like that. There's always going to be opposition to all things on that sort of stuff. So, it is what it is. But I don't think they carry as much weight when it comes to Call of Duty. Call of Duty is the 800-pound gorilla in the room when it comes to console gaming. I get it in regards to that, but yeah, it's interesting, to say the least, for sure. So,
no, it's definitely interesting. I mean, and just all the titles that Activision has. I mean, we don't know about how that contract will work between a game like Sekiro that won Game of the Year. Will Activision still publish that game? Will From Software will still want to work with Activision after this merger? I don't think that would be a problem or anything, and I would think that Microsoft would definitely be behind still funding the game. I don't know. Do you think that a game like this would get where Microsoft would try to use their leverage to try to put a game like Sekiro 2 on Game Pass day one? Do you think that could be a possibility? Yeah,
I don't think there's anything on the library of Activision that's not up for grabs for Game Pass. The only thing that may be like a little bit weird is like a backward compat like Spider-Man game.
Right.
Because you have to go through there's Disney on that sort of thing. So you have to present something to Disney that's worthwhile for both of them. But let's say they go, you know what, Disney, you gave us permission before to publish these Spider-Man games, and we're not asking to make a new Spider-Man game. We know Sony's doing that. They have a right, but we want to remaster this existing game.
Oh, bro, what?
And put new assets, new things, and just release a collection.
Oh man,
what stops them from doing that?
Nothing.
Do you think maybe Disney would like that?
Yeah, Disney. Yeah, if it's money involved, Disney is not going to care.
I'm going to tell you right now, Disney would love it.
Right.
Because they can still honor the existing contract with
Sony.
Sony is eventually going to move away from Spider-Man. They're moving to Wolverine. We know that for a fact. The same, Insomniac's moving to Wolverine after the Spider-Man game.
Mm.
So, yeah. So what stops them from doing that? So there's a lot of things they have on the table. It's weird to think that Crash Bandicoot going forward is exclusive on Xbox. It's weird.
Well, that is weird. What a crazy turn of events. Like, I mean, if there's a mascot that's been hoarded out,
yes.
It's Crash. Crash Bandicoot is now is going to be an Xbox exclusive now, and I mean, and would Xbox make it exclusive?
Future ones, maybe.
I don't disagree. I think
ones,
Xbox is going to be a little petty.
Non-existing ones, things. But future ones.
Non-existing.
But future ones. And then, I guess what? They rub a little salt in the wound. They'll make it exclusive on their platform, but maybe a year down the road, they'll be, hey, Nintendo, we play nice together.
Oh, man.
Because we've seen this pattern happening with their relationship with Nintendo and the relationship not being as strong with Sony. So you're going to see things. You're going to see some stuff. Like, this is how I'm thinking with these sort of things, just how Phil has done things in the past. I'm looking at the library. What do I do? What would be like big brain moves to leverage the situation as a whole? You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Oh, and now I'm just going through looking at games that act like they can bring back Prototype.
Mm-hmm.
They could Tenchu is something that I would definitely love to see. But also they worked on X-Men games.
Yep.
Wonder will Xbox get into a or like the Marvel Alliance? Wonder will Xbox try to get into that space because people have been asking them to get into the
It would be new.
superhero
It'd be a
game
new
space, but
contract for a new game, but
right.
remasters might be a different situation with a pre-existing license agreements in place that you can
And
play
backwards
around.
compatibility as well, because of the Marvel Alliance games. I mean,
Yeah.
that would be huge to go forward on there. And let's not forget Transformers. Transformers is
Yeah, they were good.
They were great. Oh man, I see some Tony Hawk again. They could do that. DJ Hero. Now I don't know, Don. You don't look like a DJ Hero type of guy, but I was a DJ Hero
Wait.
type of. But
I can look like DJ Hero. Ready? Okay, there you
what? Are you kidding me?
go. Yeah, you take one headphone off so you can hear the crowd go.
Oh man, DJ Hero was everything to me. But what about like Guitar Hero?
None of the music rhythm games ever appealed to me. So
Oh yeah, no,
you're right.
I
When it
thought
comes
those
to
were
that.
cool
So,
games.
yeah, you're right when it comes to that. That was not my jam.
Geometry Wars. Talking about bringing back the Xbox arcade games back, that would be sweet.
The bigger question: how big is Game Pass once they start pump? Because it may take some of these things may be time released over time, right? But let's say by the end of the year they get their library in there. How many games are going to be in Game Pass?
1,000 at least.
Yeah, it's not going to be a minimum of 200 anymore.
No, well, is it 400 plus now?
Yeah, but it's guaranteed 100, right?
Right. Well, yeah, it's guaranteed. Yeah, right.
So what is that guaranteed number that they're going to push on advertising once Activision is in there?
Man,
it's a lot.
That's a lot. Whew. Man, I did not know that Deadpool was made by Activision.
Yeah, I think they were the publisher on that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
this changed the game. I mean, of course, I knew about Angry Birds, but yeah, no, this is. But what you said about the Amazing Spider-Mans, I mean, the Spider-Man games, that was all on, and to make a remaster collection. Bro, that is impressive.
It wouldn't.
That's impressive.
It wouldn't take that many people, too, right? Like, I don't know what engine it's built on, but like, let's say you have someone create a new asset for Spider-Man, and you take a team of maybe 10, 15 people, and they just create new assets and replace the old assets with the existing assets. Do a little play testing. May take 2 or 3 years, right? But they'll get their return on it.
Man, and let's just even take it a little bit further, and then we're going to get out of here. Okay, so I'm just going through these games. Like, I mean, the rich history
spinning,
of
right? So
what'd you say?
Your wheels are spinning.
I mean, they had Blade, which was I would love that. But you go back and you look at games like, okay, they got a lot of Star Trek games, which I love Star Trek myself personally. I need to get back to start watching some. But like games like Pitfall Harry, they can bring those back. Like in a smaller, they don't have to, make it like a Tomb Raider type of game or whatever. But I mean, like, that would be sweet. Or like for the rumors about that brawler that Xbox wants to work with Bandai Namco. The same team, Project Soul, who's worked on Smash Brothers. That all the characters now that Xbox has now, with you add Activision and ZeniMax, and also with what they picked up with Ninja Theory, and with now
new
Playground
IPs.
Games.
Yeah, you have you can have a roster about 3 times the size of KI when it released.
Yes,
and have characters in the wings monthly. for a
Right.
while. If you did something like
Yes.
that for a
Right.
while, if it's a good game,
For a while. Yeah.
the
No.
game mechanics have to be on
Project
point.
Soul ain't gonna. Yeah. Project. And see, you know what? Now, the more I think about it, when they keep talking about like Killer Instinct and working with Bandai Namco, because they went to Bandai Namco, and maybe Namco is still looking for that studio or whatever the case may be. But I think all the smoke and fire is with that brawler, and they are working with Namco and Project Soul on this brawler. I think all hands on deck on this brawler. And now, since the ink is about to get dried on this deal, man, you could have Tony Hawk in here. You could have, like I said, Pitfall Harry. You could have
what
in the world?
What if you did a new third-person game out of Activision's library, a new Pitfall?
Well, I was thinking about that.
Yeah,
I was actually thinking about that.
What game would that look like?
Like Uncharted.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was thinking about that, but I was like, they wouldn't get that petty with it. But I mean, they do not. I do think that Microsoft is going to go after Crystal Dynamics. I think that they're really trying to. I think that they're trying to just wait and bide their time and get Crystal Dynamics, so they can have Tomb Raider. But
I'm pretty sure people
don't know.
flies in the wings too.
Who?
People can fly.
I know you talked about that.
I think
you talked about that.
I think from what I've seen, I think they might have. They're ready. Like, as soon as they're done with this deal, that gets pushed through. And they're talented. Like they are. They're the type of talent that they're not good to put on an existing IP. That's not who they are.
Mm-hmm.
They're good when you give them creative freedom outside of that. Like, they're that type of studio. Like, some studios they like to work within certain boxes, and they're better at that, right? And certain companies are better of when you have the freedom of play with different play controls. Like, obviously, you've seen them when they worked on Gears of War on Xbox. Right. It wasn't very well received. It wasn't really that good, to be honest with you. It's not that it was a bad game. It just wasn't a great Gears game. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But you take Bulletstorm. That game's phenomenal. I love that game.
Yeah, Bulletstorm is kick ass. Yeah, that's good. And then, of course, Outriders. I mean,
Outriders
that game
was fun too.
It was fun. Yeah.
Some people talk crap on it, but it was its own thing.
Yeah.
So, I feel like they're a talented studio if you give them the creative freedom they need to stretch their wings. They come up with some really cool stuff, but yeah, I think. Well, we know for a fact that the information's out there that People Can Fly have signed something with Microsoft.
Man, that'd be insane. All right, man.
Does that mean that and it's an exclusive title? I know that Microsoft owns the IP if People Can Fly sign with somebody else. So the question is, is that just the precursor to if they decided to buy themselves out and they already are bought out, they're just waiting for the right time to finalize this deal? Who knows? Or is it just a one-off game that they are working on or partnered with some other studio within Microsoft's portfolio? I don't know. But I know they're working on something with Microsoft right now. And I know Microsoft retains the IP. The question is, are they part of the family or not? I don't know. And that's the curious thing. So I wouldn't be surprised that they get purchased. So we'll see.
Man. Oh my goodness. I forgot about Afterburner. Man, wow. There's just so much potential within this publisher. Like, I mean, tons of potential. Good grief, man. Oh man. Well, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Of course, we're going to keep talking about this for a long time. What did Yobi say? He says K Mega and Don already recorded that Spider-Man remaster convo and posted it on Twitter. That's not a bad idea, man. Oh, well, thank you, Yobi. That's next level. He said uploaded it on Twitter. He said that Spider-Man collection is a good idea. No, that is an excellent idea. Like, I mean, and then we know that Xbox is not getting Sega now. Like, I thought that they would probably really go really aggressive if the deal didn't go through, but I don't think Sega's on the table anymore.
Well,
I think that they've already got good. What do you say?
Do you think Sega's on the table if they have a couple big failures, like bad titles released? If Sega has a bad year, so what I'm getting at is Sega has a bad year or two. You think they're off the table, or are they on the table?
It would have to be a couple of years from now for sure. It'd have to be, because right now Sega's doing really well.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I mean, anything is possible. I mean, we were thinking that Capcom was primed and ready, and now look at Capcom. Capcom's untouchable. They can't. Nobody. Capcom is doing fine. They don't need anybody right now.
Yeah,
now, I mean,
they're back to their old selves, which is good to see. But
it is really good to see.
Yeah,
it's really good to see.
We'll see what happens. I mean, shoot. I mean, will they go for Ubisoft?
That's another. I mean,
Ubisoft's having a tough time right now.
They're having a real rough time. But and this is another thing. And this is what, like, I will say this for the people that had a fear of this deal going through, is because there is no other entity that is cost as much as Activision. So therefore, everything else is still fair game. You know what I mean? Like ABK. Well, look, you just accepted us. The judge just granted us the biggest publisher price wise in history. So therefore, anything else is gravy, right? Like, why would you even try to? So I don't even think the FTC would even try to compete against that. Well, like, I mean,
there's a thing called precedence with. I mean, I'm not going to pretend I'm a lawyer or anything like that, but I understand from the legal system, once a precedent has been established, it's hard to overturn those precedents.
That's the point. Yeah.
So the precedent is here is they have a track record. Precedence here is, so, and I think also if they become the dominant players in the console market down the road, let's be hypothetical here, not guarantee they will or won't, or just in general, just assume it. They have a window for additional purchases before that happens. Right. So if you are in a buying spree, you want to make sure your future deals are not blocked. You have a window of purchasing publishers or studios if you become the dominant platform. So
I mean, it is smart. It is smart. Ugh.
Yeah. So,
yeah,
this is what big business is. It's about when you're competing with others. Sometimes if you compete on someone else's terms, you're not going to do well, right? That's what has happened with Microsoft. But that's how Sony became more dominant than Nintendo and Sega. They played the game from their perspective. They made it cheaper for developers to make this leap to 3D. They provided them better tools than their competitors. They made it cheaper to publish on their platform, and they retained more of the profits, and it was cheaper than their competitors' platforms. That's what put Sony in that position, right? And then they run that wave of fan base to what you see today, and plus the products that they put out. Now, Xbox is that type of person that, what do? They create systems that every other thing is dependent on, right? So that's what literally your PC is, right? And that's the reason why their OS is so popular. That's why their networking is so popular. That's the reason why when you talk about when they're doing a console, they're using an API that's the same as essentially their PC. And they're making you dependent on them. As a matter of fact, some of the tools that were used to develop PC games were some of the similar tools that were also used to make the first PlayStation games.
Man.
So, like, this is what Xbox does. Right. So they shift the conversation onto their back foot, right? Put it in their court, and now Sony's going to have to try to compete on their terms. And I think Sony will do well. I don't think Sony will do poorly. They're just going to have to go back to the lab that's what it comes right down to over time. So,
Man, it's very, very interesting stuff, man. You laid some wonderful nuggets. Wonderful nuggets. I mean, yeah, this is something that yeah, and I seen Yobi, you just shared it out. I'm finna retweet it.
great, people are gonna
Man,
hate
preach.
me now.
As soon as they say
Spider-Man,
I'm gonna say
Xbox.
direct all your hate at Don.
Yeah.
At the Don. But no, man, I mean, but they could, and it could work. And like you said, like, I mean, there's nothing that they can do about it. And I mean, it's so much deeper than that. Like, I don't even think that Sony knows how. Well, maybe do. Sony probably knows exactly. That's the reason why they didn't want this deal to go through. I think they were looking at the money situation between with Call of Duty, but I think when now, since they can process all this, it's like, holy shit, there is a lot
Well,
that they can do with this publisher.
Would be clear, Sony knew about all the other things with the publisher. It's not like they were that ignorant. They're smarter than that. The thing is, they know how to play their audience, right? And what are the ones where everyone's going to be talking about? It's going to be talking about Call of Duty, right? So that's where they focus their attention and their energy, if that makes any sense, because they can get the gaming community riled up. They try to play you. As a Sony fan, that's what Sony just did.
Yep.
They try to play you.
Yep.
You know, you can love Sony all you want. You can be upset about that or not. Sony played you. Colin, been played by Sony. Every super fan by Sony that was talking about this, you've been played. Try to push their agenda. Their agenda is their agenda. It's not yours. I mean, that's what it comes right down to. The same thing with Microsoft's thing. Microsoft's agenda is their agenda, not ours as gamers. So yeah, that's just kind of where you're at right now. So, you know, yeah, it's that sort of thing bugs me. So.
Wow. Well, we'll see about this. We'll be talking about this, I'm sure, all year long to some degree, on and off. I mean, I do agree with most people that I'm glad that it's over, and that we can start talking about games and things like that, and stop talking about what if and this and that. I mean, there'll still be a lot of what ifs and things in a happier tone, especially for Xbox gamers and just for gamers in general who would just that are fascinated to hear these type of things. But the whole just ABK deal, it is done. Thank goodness. I'm very happy about that. So thank you, FTC, for pushing this even further, because they were talking about before they were talking about pushing this until 2024. And thank you, Judge, you know what I'm saying, for getting it done, making the decision. Like I said, I didn't care which decision that she made. I mean, logically, we all knew that the right decision was the approval. But if she did somehow just said that, like, she had reservations and she rejected it, I would have trusted her judgment, because she asked all the right questions. She just, dotted the I's, crossed the T's. She was really, 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 really good at what she did. So shout out to her. And then, shout out to Microsoft, the lawyers, and everybody else. They did their thing, man, and they won. So now we'll see how Microsoft will handle it. Like, I mean, they have known to step on the step away from a landmine, but in the process, step on a rake and hit them in the head. So we'll see what happens, but I'm excited. I'm excited as an Xbox fan.
I want to see the paperwork signed and that video recorded and put on Twitter by Phil Spencer. That's what I want to see.
Oh my goodness. Just have it plastered on the screen.
Yeah, and I want him to pin it at the top of his comments, everything. But no, congratulations to the team. This sort of stuff, I mean, I can't even imagine having billions of dollars online if this deal didn't go through. Like, I can't imagine that level of stress. That's something different altogether. But congratulations to everyone, to be honest with you, because competition is back on the menu.
On the menu.
And that's going to make everything better long term. I'm not in here for gaming for the next couple years and I'm out. I'm in here for gaming for the long haul, right? So I want to see the competition. I want to see what everyone brings in regard. And I get more excited about competition than a particular type of game, to be honest with you, because competition breeds that stuff. So I'm excited about that.
All right. No doubt. No doubt. All right, man. It's time to wrap it up. Get on out of here. Where can they find you at? And man, just let everybody know all the stuff that you got going on.
Yeah, so as of right now, the Dawn Gaming Live is usually my live streaming channel. So anything from doing a podcast with Mega or anyone else I've partnered with, this is the place to see it. We try not, I try not to overdo it on this channel. I try to do it sparingly in regards to that. So we try to make it a kind of a big deal when it happens. And then I at least game stream a minimum of 2 times in a week on this channel. And eventually we're going to be doing possibly 3, and then I have another channel, which is a Dawn _ KTR. And that is where I'm going to be releasing more edited content, not just live content. Things, traditional YouTube stuff where you do a lot of editing and things like that. And keep an eye on that, because there's some stuff popping up down the road in regards to that. I want to get about 5 videos in the bank before I start releasing stuff again. I feel like that was a big mistake on my part, and I'm at 4 right now. So 1 more, and I'm starting releasing them. So I'm excited. So
let's go. All right. And as for me, KMega405, man, you can catch me on Twitter at KMega4. Also, I'm in Threads, KMega405. So come and check it. I think it's KMega _405, but I got to remember. Hold on, let me look. I'm right here. It's not like I ain't got to do it. Just
we were saying Google can't figure it out for them.
Right. Let me just go ahead and just go straight to it. I'll let you know right now. Yep, it's KMega _405. So yeah, if you new to Threads, guys, it's really nice. Ain't no tripping. Seems like now, I could come into Twitter, get a little messy, stay in there and just be calm and collected, just post some things and just let it be. It's peaceful over there. So I think that might be a good place for you to go over there and do your thing too, Don. So, shout out to Threads for being the adult platform right now.
Is that Facebook?
It is a part of Instagram, but this is Twitter's alternative. Yeah. So it's
Facebook.
It's Zuckerberg. So yeah, Facebook. You're doing one billionaire cocky person going to another cocky billionaire. But regardless, it's grown, like it's over 103. When I last checked, and that was last night before I went to bed, it was over 310 million in less than a week. Good. So it is kicked off. So it's giving Elon some fits right now, but yeah, no, it's a pretty clean. It's not as it's not as fluid as Twitter yet. Like you can't use GIFs for like conversations and stuff like that when you're replying back to somebody. When there's some things that needs to be ironed out, but as a platform that's just started, it is the best one so far. Because I thought Hive was pretty good, but it just lacked some things. But this is pretty solid. So yeah, so I would advise you to check it out if you wanted to. There's nothing wrong to just spreading yourself out a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like a margarine.
Like a margarine. Vegetable butter? No, get that shit out of here, man.
I'm just saying. Okay, all right.
I like real butter here, man. Salted.
The German butter. The German butter. That's some good stuff. Yeah, that's really good stuff.
I actually get freshly churned. That's usually what I do. So.
Oh, nice.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching us live. I'm going to go ahead and stop the stream now, and thanks for anyone that's catch us. And then. Within 24 hours, it's going to be on your channel, right? So 24 hours.
Yeah, 24 hours.
On Mega's channel. So we'll get it on there quickly. All right, later.